And we are here again. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Evie. And can I just say, 12:29. This is probably a first.
We're compensating. We're compensating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good to be with you as always, Evie.
You too,
Good to
Yvonne.
be with you, whoever is on the other side, who might be watching this live and or recorded. And we are back, Permission to Thrive, really looking at those narratives, those stories, those patterns that have been controlling perhaps many parts, if not all parts of our lives, and probably keeping us quite caged, constantly trying to keep us safe, which means that we are not necessarily fully expressing and being all that we are here to be. And so, what we want to do is really kind of put a spotlight on some of those phrases that come up and share our own experiences, perhaps experiences of our clients, and really invite you to post any comments and thoughts as well, because this is that opportunity to find out, how does this show up for other people? And if you have started to be aware of it, whether you're just being able to sit with it or whether you're actually taking any kind of actions with that. And neither is better than the other, because for me, awareness is key,
Absolutely.
having that awareness. And actually, sometimes being able to just sit and watch it. We talked about a little bit about this last week, before doing anything, just like, oh, I see, oh, almost like looking for that pattern of when something comes up. It's fascinating.
Oh yes, yes. I think that it's worth doing what we're doing, because it helps so much, ourselves, as well as our listeners, hopefully. But we're sure that it helps ourselves. Yeah, like we're sure that it does, because it does bring up. I mean, we have discussed over the weeks and months, things that have been quite real for us as well, hasn't it, Yvonne? And how it sort of the patterns showed up in our lives before and after the work that we do. And I think this makes it really worth a while doing what we're doing. And today what we're discussing is I think one of the things that's very close to my heart. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's a happiness delay. It's like how everything seems to be in a transitory state, and only when we get there, wherever there is, we're going to
Mm.
really feel okay with ourselves, worth it, and happy.
Mm.
The first phrase that we are going to analyze here is "I'll be happy when," and I had a lot of that in my life. Um,
Well, you
you
get started then.
you know, and one of the reasons why I think I became also a change strategist is because of that. To be honest with you, because everything seemed to be in transition, and everything, like every change was like the the promise of happiness, I suppose, or that's how it sort of appeared in my life,
Mm.
and earlier in my life. It's not the case anymore. But I mean, when I was going through what we're going to discuss today, it really dawned on me that it is interesting that I have chose to work with change, um, especially when that was like that's how my life has always felt. Like, when I finish school, when I finish university, when I move to another job, when I go to another country, when I don't know, like it's so many things that I was waiting for before I am happy. And the funny thing is that if you wait, you will wait always and for all your life, because there's always the next thing that you have to wait for. And there was a time when I heard something, and it was a quote by Katharine Hepburn, and she said there is so much difference between joy and happiness as is the sun and a light bulb. And it sort of stayed with me because it felt like, okay, it means that joy, which is we sort of like interchange it with happiness, but it's not necessarily the case. Joy is an internal thing. Joy comes from within, and I've always been a very optimistic person, so joy comes naturally to me, and I think that I sort of let go of that notion of like, oh, I'll be happy when, like, I am joyous as it is, and let's see what else comes, and be curious about what's coming rather than, oh, I'll be happy when. So yeah, it's a long introduction.
Yeah,
How has that showed up for you?
yeah, I've really had to think hard on this one. I'll be happy when it's not. I want to say that that's not a natural thought pattern for me. That's not something that I connect with deeply, or I can think of, oh, I know when I was in that phase of life, that was how it was for me. Where I think I have experienced it, and I can actually finish that sentence, I'll be happy when I'm in the right relationship. That one I can relate to. That one I feel it's like I'm joyful, I feel good, life is wonderful, and then I'll be happy when this thing happens. And actually, that's just proved not to be the case at all. That I have probably more joy and happiness in my singularity as I have done in being a couple. And that's as much about understanding that happiness is not that thing that you find in someone else or being somewhere else. Of course, you can enjoy those things, but that it comes back to when you connect with joy, that innate joy that's within you. For me personally, once I connected with that, I stopped seeking happiness. Happiness was just something that happened. And it's interesting that you were talking about that I'll be happy when, and then, I leave school, I'll be happy when, because Hira posted underneath our little post on Tuesday about this session. She said sometimes ambition isn't the issue, it's the ever moving finishing line. And I think that that is so spot on because that's the thing. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. I'll be happy when I get here. And it's almost like the bigger question is, how do you know that? How do you know that? Or what is it about that move that you think is going to bring you happiness? And what is it that is stopping you from being happy in this moment or being joyful in this moment? And I always prefer to think of joy because I do believe that it's innate. And, you know, I can be joyful every day. It may not look the same every day. Sometimes it's very quiet because of, I'm in a reflective state or what have you. Sometimes it's very buoyant and loud and it's out there with excitement and there's that kind of joy. And for me, when I think of happy, I can be happy sat on a bench watching the birds, listening to the birds sing. That that can bring happiness for me. So it's, what are we looking for when we talk about happiness? What does it mean to us as an individual?
It is a very good question, and I think that also it has to do with how we see, like, not how we see the world, but like the information we receive from the world. And it's pretty much like, how success looks like, how happiness looks like. And it is sort of a reflection of, like, sometimes when we're comparing, and it's like, oh, they look so happy. Why am I not like this? Or why don't I have that? And if I had that, I would be more happy, or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, like, as you said, it doesn't really need to be a thing. Happiness, it is a state, and we can get there, I want to say, by choice. And I know some people will probably kick back on that and say, yeah, right. But really, in my experience, even
Yeah.
in the most, like, difficult times, and in the most, like, craziness around me, when I chose to say, okay, I'll pause, and I will take a couple of breaths, and I'm going to, like, really stay and sit with the craziness. At that particular moment, something shifts, something changes, and it might, I mean, to me, that feels like happiness, because it gives you the opportunity to see clearer, and uh, not react to the situation, but act according to what is good and serving to you. So
Yes.
this is what has happened, of course, over a very long time of me working, with myself and positive intelligence, and like other practices. But to me, this is like more what what I understand about, happiness, and choosing happiness over something else that is scatters you all around, and you don't know how to be in that particular moment in time. I
Yeah.
don't know if it makes sense, does it?
Yeah. It does make sense. And I think that sometimes I think that the biggest issue when we talk about happiness is that the minute you say it, people say, well, you can't be happy all the time. Well, nobody's saying that you have to be happy all the time. It's
Absolutely.
how do you access happiness? How can you access happiness? I can pick up my phone and go to my pictures and look at my grandchildren, and I feel happy. They make me smile. I see their pictures. It makes me feel joyful. I feel happy in that moment. Does that necessarily mean that I feel happy throughout the whole day? Does that mean that, nothing can disturb that? Of course, things can disturb that. And that's okay too. So I think also just acknowledging that it's not that you have to be in a state of happiness every second of every minute of every hour of every day, but how do you access it when you want to feel more buoyant, when you
Mm-hmm.
want to feel more connected? Instead of it has to be at a destination, I have to get here or I have to be here and then I can experience it. What could you do here in the present? In this moment. So I know, like for me, I said I can look at my photos. I can go for a walk and literally just be with nature and feel, oh, wow, how beautiful and amazing. It's more of a wonderment state. But all
Yeah,
of those things tie into how happy we feel. It changes the chemistry.
that's it. But that is it, isn't it? I mean, we are looking for, like, states, and we expect to be in that one state constantly. But if that's the case, then how do we know that we are in this state or the other state if everything is the same? So by definition, there must be, some more satisfying and less satisfying states that we are in order to understand the difference. And but the important thing to remember here is that there is this choice, there is this sense that, like, okay, I might not be jumping for joy, whatever that expression is, but like, as you said, there is something I can do. Like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. Let me see, what can I do to change the chemistry in my head, that to disrupt that vicious cycle of thoughts that really bring me down. And to me, this is way more important than, oh, we were out and we were happy, and okay, well, that happens as well. That is great, but let's also figure out what's going on in the moments where you are with your own thoughts and when things are not necessarily as you would like them to be. And I think this is way more important, because if you can do that, then everything else is amplified anyway, because the conditions are right, so you can enjoy it.
Yeah. And that whole chemistry thing is so important because I think we forget that there are things we can do to change the chemical reaction in our bodies. Dancing, movement. There are things that can help to release like the happy hormones, the endorphins, the serotonin, that we can access those things to change our state. And even if we do it temporarily, that gives the body an opportunity to to move away from maybe the overwhelm, the frustration, the anger, whatever those things are. And we don't have to move away from every state because
Mm.
we think it's bad, because every state has a purpose. Every state is sending us a signal. So for me, there's a little bit about just accepting that each of these different states that we experience have messages with them. And there's a part of me that says, can we be still enough? Can we pause and be with it to get to the nugget, the truth of it?
Yeah, I that is, like, whenever we discuss and we talk about that pause, to me, that's what it means. It might have different meanings for different people, and I would love some comments on that if you have some ideas. But, like, to me, it is the the pause that gives you the opportunity to see something clearer, to stay with it. And as you very nicely said the other day, Yvonne, even if it is something you're not really loving, like, stay with it. Don't expect to react straight away on it or to act straight away. Stay with it, and see if there is a pattern that you can disrupt there, if there is a reason why this is happening. And, ever since we started talking about patterns, I have noticed so many things in my own life, even now,
Mm.
things that repeating and things that I don't necessarily love. And I am wondering, I'm questioning now, and I bring more curiosity in those things, and things sort of like get more and more clear. And I think I can work with these patterns and disrupt them more often than not now than before, because of that, because of the pause, because I decided that, okay, it is what it is. And we are saying that, right? It is what it is. What does that mean? Not everything can change. Not everything can change right now, right this minute, to what you want to make it. So let's see, what can we get from that? And that's the pause, that's the nugget. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for anyone who notices that I'll be happy when, what I would encourage is actually why am I making myself wait? Why am I making, question with curiosity, not with judgment. So this is
yeah,
also the important, come at it with that sense of curiosity. Why does it have to be that before I can experience this? Why? What is driving that? And what could I do? What could I do now that could allow me to experience it in this present moment? And that won't, that, and again, like you were saying, that won't always necessarily be possible because there may be really big things going on that are making it difficult to access that. However, if you're curious enough to ask, at least you're asking, which even in the asking is breaking the state,
Yes,
and allowing you to think differently. And that for me is such an important thing with any of these patterns is the minute we can break the state by raising our awareness and questioning with curiosity, not judgment, we're already positioning ourselves in a better place. And I know that when it comes to things like decision making, you know, are my decisions generally better if I feel happy, content, joyful, whatever words we want to wrap around it, than if I'm angry, frustrated, you know, really climbing up a cliff? Without a shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, because there's a calm, my nervous system is calm, I can access what's up here with greater ease. So even just giving ourselves that measure of knowing, if I can get to, if I can access that happy state, whatever that means to me, that could help me get through this thing, this challenge, this experience with greater ease.
definitely. And I think uh, one of the tools that one can use, it's goes against the second phrase that we are going to unpack here. Um, the phrase is "I can't celebrate yet,"
Mm.
and we are big advocates of celebrating every step of the way. And I'll leave you, Yvonne, to explain why that's important. I know this is big, big for you.
For me, there's two reasons. One, because we are really great at beating ourselves up every time something doesn't go the way that we had wanted, expected, etc., etc. We are really good at getting down on ourselves. So, like, how do you counterbalance that? Surely then, every time there is a step taken, one, the celebration, and this is not dancing in the street celebration. This is the almost like the acknowledgement of, wow, that's done. That can be all the celebrating you do, but actually acknowledging it is like a reminder. Okay, that was possible, that's done. Because the amount of women that I work with who literally, if I say, when was the last time you celebrated you? It's like, it's usually like a birthday or there's it's like, what about the everyday? What about those little things that you do every day that help you move forward to wherever it is that you're choosing to go? What about that? Oh yeah, but everybody does those. So why is that not worth celebrating? This is because this is how we very quickly forget what we have achieved, what we have done, because we don't stop to register. It's like, yeah, well, everyone does that, so just move on to the next thing. And actually, for me, when we get into that space where I've taken a step, it's the one step, I've done nothing else today, but I took one step. I'm going to acknowledge that and I'm just going to celebrate it. And whether that's just, I'm really pleased that I managed to get that done. Simple as that. If you're like me, maybe a little bit more practical, a bit more proactive about it, and have a little dance around the room. You do your thing, whatever that looks like for you, but embody it so that you can remember it. And that impacts over time. If you're celebrating each of those things and you start embodying that difference, we talk about happiness, that feeling of happiness becomes so much easier to access.
That's it. And the other thing when it comes to celebrating, and that's how I use it with my clients, is that when you celebrate, you're actually gathering evidence of achievements, and they don't have to be big, but believe it or not, there are so many people that have achieved really big things, and they cannot, even those they cannot acknowledge, or they haven't acknowledged, because as you said, each one of us have this thought that if I've done it, everybody is doing it. I don't. Why should I celebrate? I didn't do anything special. So it's a constant chatter in our heads because of the conditioning, because we are not used to actually cheering ourselves up, or becoming our own cheerleaders in a way, because we consider this like sometimes even a useless exercise, and it's not. And like I can say it with some of my clients, is like so like it is like almost a new, I don't know, as if they discovered something completely amazing when they start acknowledging themselves, when they start understanding that like things that they have done in the past were worth celebrating, and things that they do every day is worth celebrating. And also by celebrating, we are again helping to disrupt this thought pattern and to stop, because the celebration is in itself a little bit of a pause to what happened in the past and what is going to happen as a next step. So it is such an important exercise for all of us to acknowledge ourselves, to take that moment, and to like create those like step-by-step actions, rather than, okay, that's a long action, it's going to take a long time to happen, and when that long thing finishes, then I'll see what I'll do.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as you were talking now, I was thinking, if if we're holding on to the I can't celebrate yet, and I can't celebrate yet because that thing hasn't occurred yet, it's also leading to the phrase that we've just come away from, is so what you're also telling yourself is you'll be happy when that happens, but by the time that happens, there'll be another thing. There'll be another thing that you need to really now go and do before that can settle in. And I think this is a lesson for all of us, though, isn't it? Is, looking for the little things in the day, in our daily living, that bring us joy, where we can feel happy, and don't just override them. Just don't just feel it in a flash and then, right now I need to get back to something serious. Feel it. Feel it. Allow yourself to hold that in the body. Feel that feeling. Because the other part of that is the more you get to embody it, that sensation, the kind of more you want to have of it. It's like, oh, this feels good. And then that becomes almost like a reminder of, okay, even in a day that is stressful and I've got shed loads going on, I'm going to I'm going to ensure that I have those pause moments where I can access the happiness, the joy, and be with that, because I know that that energizes me.
And another thing that really helps with this, or this is helpful for, is gratefulness. Because what happens, that I have heard a lot of people that they find it hard to get to that state of being grateful. And it's not about like we have, I mean, and it has become so mainstream, oh, being grateful, be grateful, other people don't have and you have, and I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that sense of like, okay, I set out to do A. A is like divided by, I don't know, 20 different actions, and I've done the first action, and I am grateful that I have taken that first step, and I feel good for myself for that. And when you connect those two together, it sort of becomes like a habit. to be grateful, to be in that state of like, you know, I have done something, I have accomplished something. And again, it becomes like a good vicious cycle of evidence of good evidence of why you need to be grateful, or why you are grateful. And it is such a great state to be in, and you don't need to wait to be grateful. And you hear it all the time. It's like, you know, there are even like, write 3 things that you're grateful for, think of 3 things that you're grateful for, and I don't know what. But like, if you don't want to do that, and you cannot think of something, attach it to this particular experience of completion. And it makes such big difference in the way that you feel. As you said, you get all the happy hormones playing with you, and you're like, nice, I want some more of that. And the next step will happen, and will happen so much easier as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the overarching thing that's coming up for me is really being able to identify, what does happiness mean to you? So that does not have to look the same as anybody else's. What does it mean to you? And how can you access it in your daily life? And I don't necessarily mean every single day, but just in your daily goings and comings, what can be those things that you can access that that put a smile on your face, right? That makes your heart flutter, that just makes you feel good. Because when you can identify those things and again access them on a regular basis, that will always have an impact on the choices that you make, the decisions that you make, the way that you interact with other people, the way you interact with yourself. All of those things can shift. So there is no, there's a perfect time. There is no perfect time than the time that we have. And and I want to say that with a caveat that obviously when you are in the thick of going through really difficult and challenging things, I'm not saying that you have to come out of those things. What I'm saying is to give yourself a bit of peace of mind in the midst of those things, find the things that allow you to get some respite, that allow you to pause away from it, even if it's for a brief moment, because those little nuggets, those little moments of time add up. And we talk about resilience and being able to stay with the pressure of stuff that's happening. It's so much easier to do that when you can find those little glimmers. And again, just not get caught up in oh, I'd love to be happy 24/7, but that's not a reality. The vast majority of people, I'm going to say, probably aren't happy 24/7.
No, definitely.
However, at the same time, there are people, and I'm going to include myself in that, who can access happiness as and when I choose to, because I know the things that make me happy. And as long as I know the things that make me happy, and there's a broad spectrum of them, then I can choose to go into that state as and when I want to, or just because.
Isn't that fantastic? And
Yeah.
it is so even more fantastic to know that it is up to us. And every time I don't know if like I always like when I think that I'm thinking like, yes, it is up to us. And some people, and I have heard it many times, they're like, yeah, right, whatever. But it is. And when you feel that it is up to you, when you can take responsibility for something,
Mm.
it gives you so much peace of mind. Because even if you are in a difficult situation, we've been in difficult situations, and sometimes, like not everything works out fine. You might be quite happy in certain aspects of your life, and some others are like a mess. And that's being human, I suppose. It's not really something unfamiliar to any of us. But just being able to tap into this and say, okay, this is something that it depends only on me. It really gives you that peace of mind that, okay, I can get there. And even if it is for like 1 minute, but that 1 minute is going to translate into like a very different me coming out of it and dealing with whatever it is out there that's bothering me. So
Yeah, excellent. And I just want to mention also Peter, who left a little note, and he was saying like these inner voices really are really tricky sometimes, and I wonder if we sometimes trust the little critics too much without giving ourselves space to just be content now. And absolutely, Peter. And the whole point is that those critics have been around for so long and are so embedded and are so used to running the show. So again, that's why this work is so important. Actually being able to raise that awareness, actually being willing to notice and see, and then say, okay, how can I approach this differently? Or, what are the things that I can do so that this only arrives when it is truly protecting me and not all the time. Because ultimately, if we go back to the critics and these voices, there's a protection mechanism that's part of it. And it may still protect in some situations, but probably not in all the ones that it's currently running. And that's the
and the
bit we need
thing
to be
is,
aware of.
and the thing is that it's not just theory. There is so much science behind this. And the reason why we feel that it's, hard, or it's like it cannot stick, or it's because everything has been running in automatic for such a long time. And like, we don't allow the time for new pathways to develop. We are constantly like trying something a little bit and then falling back into the old patterns. Why? Because they have been running for a very long time. So it is not about us being broken, us being unable to do something, us being a different type of species, for goodness sake. It's just that we need to give ourselves that space and grace to do the work, to be persistent on what we want to achieve, and to allow ourselves to be in a good state. And if that state is happiness, and that's what you want to achieve, go for it. It is up to you, it's up to me, it's up to every single one of us.
Indeed. Indeed. Excellent. Okay. Love to hear your thoughts, your comments underneath the video. Please post away. Again, thank you to Hira and Peter for posting comments on Tuesday. We kind of love that because we like to bring them into the conversations that we have on the Thursday. And really, just to sign off, that Permission to Thrive, we're here to help you break free from the narratives that keep you caged.
With grace, not grind. Thank you very much, Yvonne, for another lovely
Thank you, Evie.
See
As
you next
always.
week.
See you next week.